Hey guys, it's Whitney from the Holiday Homestead. It is another beautiful rainy day out here in California. It's kind of surprising. Normally we don't get this much rain in the spring, but man, we're getting a lot of it. So, and we're grateful for it. My goodness, we're so grateful for the rain. So, I felt like today was a pretty good day to put out some onions. So gentle rains like this, where it's kind of off and on all day and a little bit here and a little bit there, I generally call planting rain. And that's the kind of rain where, pioneers back in the day would start planting out a lot of their spring and summer crops. Um, I am a little bit more hesitant to put out my like super tender summer crops just yet, because I have seen in the past where we have a really lovely planting rain and then about 2 weeks later we get a really hard frost. So I am a little hesitant, but I do put out some of the plants that are going to be just fine through a light frost, even maybe a couple heavy frosts, but pretty much grow in the summer. And one of those is onions. This is going to be my third year growing onions. And I will say I'm a little embarrassed. My very first year growing onions, my son grew better onions than I did. He was 6. So yeah, that was 3 years ago. And he grew onions, like a fist size onions. I had a little plot on my side and I gave him a little plot on the other side, and I thought, okay, it'll be so cute to give him a little area to call his own and to have his own little thing, because we do homeschool. So, it was for part of our homeschooling thing, and just because I wanted him to have his own spot. Anyway, that kid grew some amazing onions. Mine, I think the biggest I got was like about that big. His were like in my fist, and there was still onion. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, not that I was jealous. It was fine. I was totally okay with it. But I actually learned quite a bit of onion gardening from him. Just his kind of method of doing it. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, so I'll share some of that with you guys, but also I just wanted to show you how I get these onions out. First thing, pretty much one of the first things in the garden for the summer. Yeah, so here we go. So what I have here is my garden bed. This is one of our smaller beds. I'll show you guys all the way here. So this is one of our smaller beds. It is probably not more than 4.5 feet long by maybe 18 or 20 inches wide. So definitely one of our smaller beds. There's my cat. Hi, bud. With leaves on his butt. Anyway, and so it's a smaller bed, and we generally use it for maybe like soybeans in the season, or oh gosh, anything else that's really going to produce kind of upward. But I also really enjoy using these kind of smaller beds for onions, because a lot of types of onions, you cannot grow them in the same place twice in a row. So like before, kind of moving along here, before, this was my onion bed, and I used it for a year. And then I decided to put beans there instead the following year. So I moved my onions over to here. And I did onions and garlic and something else in this bed last year, and now I'm moving it to here. So I don't know the science behind it, but basically from what I've read and heard other people tell me, there's something to do with the amount of sulfur in onions that makes it really difficult for that soil to recoup the following year to produce the same size onions. And even though we do a lot of layering and in-bed composting and really rejuvenating the beds, if there's a problem with the soil or it needs to kind of recoup even more, especially from a particularly difficult crop, I let it rest. I let it rest a full year at least. So between these 3 beds, we'll probably just cycle year after year, these 3 beds with onions. It actually works just fine because, like I said, we put beans in there last year and they did a great job. The beans also, of course, they fix a lot of nitrogen in the soil. So when I move from this bed all the way back over to this bed next year, there'll be tons of nitrogen in the soil and there'll be more nutrients for those onions to pick up again. So for now, that's our plan. That's what we're basically doing. We might change it as we go. But anyway, so let me show you how I get my, my onions in the ground. So this is what I grow my onions in. Well, I should say, I grow my onions in a 32-ounce yogurt container in my windowsill, and I overseed them. I do. I just, throw everything I got in there. And that gives me these lovely, thick kind of swaths of onion shoots. And these, once I start seeing kind of these little yellow tips starting to form, I know that they're ready to come out. And so what I do is I take it out of the yogurt container, and it usually comes out in one big piece like this, and I just put it in a bowl of water. Now the water is important because when I'm separating these little starts, I don't want, Kitty, move honey. I don't want to damage these roots. These roots are incredibly important. So what I want to do is separate each one without ripping. And so, oh my gosh, kiddo, move, cat. There we go. So in order to do that, I really have to be careful. And one of the ways that I have found is to, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to work around this cat. What do you want? You want love. Okay, I love you. Now move. Okay. Is to kind of swish them around a little bit there. And see, look at that. Perfect. It came out without any ripping, without any removal of root, and it's perfect. So if my cat will cooperate, so I'm just going to lay that in my rows. And these rows I already dug out with my little hand hoe, and they're fairly, oh my gosh, fairly deep, just deep enough. And you just lay the onion in there, and you just go back again. And you're just kind of swishing as you go. You're not pulling, you're just swishing. If there's any resistance, you just swish a little more. And look at that, a whole bunch. So now I've got, there's that one. And I'm just gonna lay them in the row, kind of carefully as I go. This is something you wanna do when you just have a lot of time and not a lot of cat. Oh my goodness. Okay. And so yeah, you just keep going. And by the end of it, you end up with, oh my gosh, a nice neat row of, okay, I'm just gonna hold him for a minute. This is what he wants. Hi. And you end up with a nice neat row of onions. And I prefer to give my onions about 3 to 5 inches of space. So in this kind of narrow bed, I'm only going to do 2 rows. And that's just to keep things well spaced. So each bulb gets a chance to spread out. Because keep in mind, your onion is sitting there, this tiny little, sprig, but it's going to spread out. So you want to make sure it has tons of room to do that. All right. Let's see if she'll let me. Are you he or she? I don't know. We have a lot of cats on our property because they do a wonderful job of getting rid of gophers. And my kids have kind of over-socialized them to the point that they think that I love them too, which is a mistake. I do not. I don't mind them, but I'm not super in love with these cats. But they do a wonderful job of ruining my onion beds. But also they do a wonderful job of getting rid of gophers. And I will say that is really nice. And they are sweet. I shouldn't say I don't love them. I do, just a little bit. Just a little bit of love, not too much. Anyway, guys, so basically, once you have the whole row of onions, oh my goodness, laid out, then you're just going to bring the soil across. And I just just very lightly cover them first, and then I pinch. And the pinching, like that, makes it stand up. So I cover on one side where it's laying down, and then I reach over here with my thumb and I pinch. And that brings the whole plant to stand up. And that's what you want. You don't want an onion laying over on its side the whole time while it's trying to grow. You want an onion that is standing up in the right spot and making the most of its area. So again, cover lightly and then pinch. And see? So those few just stand right up. And we'll try it again here and see if the cat will leave me alone. Oh my goodness. You cover lightly and then pinch. And you just have a nice little row. Okay. Anyway, all right. Well, I hope that kind of showed you guys what I mean. A quick close up of those. And, okay, and the cat, who obviously just wants attention. Hi. Ooh, and a face wipe. You're gross. Anyway, so thanks guys for watching. And I hope that helped you guys get your onions started. I should tell you, and I have been meaning to tell you guys, I need to start giving you guys the temperature that I'm planting stuff at, because, you know, Mother Nature doesn't care about what zone we're in or what, you know, month it is. She just does what she wants, and we have to figure it out from there. So, right today, it is a high of 62 and a low of, I think, 48 degrees, Fahrenheit, of course. So if that gives you kind of a range, you'll be able to work with that. But anyway, so yeah, it is a beautiful day, even though it's rainy. And don't be afraid to, you know, put on a silly rain hat and get out here and do some gardening, because it's really good stuff, and you're definitely harnessing nature when you work with the seasons. Anyway, so happy gardening, y'all. Bye.